So if we have a quick look at this thing, it has two HDMI outputs and it has a VGA output. And depending on what you're using as your outputs, it's going to support different output resolutions. So in German, here's the output resolutions. And it says if you're using HDMI 1, I mean this is formatted wrong, but if you're using HDMI 1, you get up to 4K 60 Hz with a DP 1.4 output, which the Steam Deck is. 4K 30 Hz with DP 1.2. If you're just using HDMI 2 and not HDMI 1 and not VGA, then you get 4K 30 Hz. If you're using dual display, such as HDMI 1 and 2, or one of the HDMI ports and VGA, then you get up to 4K 30 Hz out of the HDMI output. And if you're using all three outputs at the same time, so HDMI 1, 2, and VGA, you get up to 1080p. And I think that's what might be happening. I think maybe Linux does something to make the MST hub think that all the outputs are being used, whereas they're not being used. So Linux does something with this thing to make it think like we're trying to use all three outputs at the same time. And that's why it craps out above 1080p. I mean, clearly, all the devices for those things are in the sysclass DRM directory. And I wouldn't be surprised if Linux didn't have correct media access control or media detection, or did something stop focusing, or it did something different that's just kind of stupid and just tries to use all of those outputs. And that's why the MST hub configures itself for triple head 1080p output, and the Mac doesn't do that, and that's why it can output 2560 times 1440k, 2560 times 1440, because it's only using the one single output. And in fact, this website specifies here somewhere that Macs do not support multiple outputs, because macOS does not support MST hubs at all. There is no support for MST hubs on macOS. So on this website, it says only mirror mode is supported, but that's not true, because apparently now one of the HDMI outputs can be used as a completely separate display to what's on the desktop, as I've just shown in the previous video. So I think that the Mac is not trying to use all three outputs at the same time, and that's why it can do high resolutions.